Hello, my name's Del Loewenthal. I'm a professor of psychotherapy and counselling at the University of Roehampton in London, and I also am chair of SAFPAC, the Southern Association for Psychotherapy and Counselling, where we train existential-analytic psychotherapists and psychotherapeutic counsellors. I am myself an existential-analytic psychotherapist and also a chartered psychologist. Since a young child, I've been interested in photography, and I've done some degrees in photography, and I'm a fellow of the Royal Photographic Society. Phototherapy and therapeutic photography enabled me to bring my interests together in therapy and in photography. A few years back, I edited a book entitled Phototherapy and Therapeutic Photography in a Digital Age. And I think that helped re-establish European ideas with regard to phototherapy and therapeutic photography. I have since written, and I'm just about to have published, a second book, which is a handbook of phototherapy and therapeutic photography. And I'd like to just give you an idea of some of the different types of phototherapy and therapeutic photography that are available for a therapist or anybody else, although we would normally see phototherapy being conducted by a trained therapist, psychotherapist, counsellor, psychoanalyst, whereas therapeutic photography can be done by the person on their own. Now, the chapters in this book, there's about 10 of them, and the first one is on phototherapy, which is of particular interest of mine. And this is where, for example, in brief therapy, that's up to half a dozen sessions, one would use photographs to enable people to more quickly bring to mind what they wish to speak about. I've done projects in schools and in prisons, not only in the UK, but also in Italy, in Milan and Bologna. And we found that about 95% of people say they find the use of photographs helpful for their emotional learning. My own experience is that probably 2/3 of people find it very helpful. 1/3 I don't think makes much difference. And very occasionally, for some people, it's too much too soon, but that is very rare. The other major heading with regard to this work is therapeutic photography. And here, for example, I've done a project on the house where I was born, which I'll be showing today, which helped me get through the loss of both my mother and the house I was brought up in. Another area that I've created is the use of phototherapy books. And this is where, say, people, for example, in prisons, have been able to write a book of photographs telling stories to their children. Another area is reenactment phototherapy, where we might dress up. So I dressed as my father's parents and sister, who he could never talk about because they'd been killed, and tell their story. Another is photo diaries, where we might take a picture every day, or I did one of my experience of COVID. I've also been involved using photography in management development, helping teams develop, or helping senior managers find the words to work on large projects. We've also worked with regard to action plans for people to find their voice, for example, get a job. Now, in doing this work, there's ethical issues of how do we put the other first and not put ourselves first as phototherapists or therapeutic photographers. And that I'll be speaking of today, as well as the running of workshops. And I will be running a workshop today on particularly phototherapy. I've come to Italy again. This is my second visit in a month, because you're so advanced in so much of these different cultural practices. I particularly enjoy coming to this festival. I was here the first time, not only to learn, but to take part in Italian life of meeting people, the way you meet people, and also your food and drink. So many thanks for inviting me.